Hey guys, welcome to this video. Thanks so much for tuning in and sharing in this now moment with myself and with one another. If you haven't seen these videos before, welcome. Welcome back if you have. My intention is unity and oneness in the highest levels of love light. This video is going to essentially be a writing that I have that I've written and I would like to share. Within the words that I use are geometry and fractal connection points that essentially hold nodes of information that are mapped into different dimensions and different aspects of our reality that essentially I'm tuning into through word patterning in a nutshell. So I'm going to read this out loud and I invite you just to listen, feel with an open heart and an open mind into what I'm sharing and recognize that some of this is a play on words meant to activate memory within the body. Within our DNA, you might say. And I'll just read it out loud and then I'll go back and share screen. So I'll begin with this. So in these new energies, we must play. We must reconstruct our reality. We must reconstruct our reality into a new chemistry. Find our inner chemistry that aligns with our highest frequency. For as we align with our higher frequency, we allow that which is to be or not to be. Bees, as we allow ourselves to see, temp into this higher framework. We allow ourselves to flow into a path of freedom that was inaccessible to many before this existence. Play on words, stance in this realm. There's a mass quantum upgrade that is still in the process of redirecting itself, if you will. I was seeing a harp and a tuning fork lighting up. Harp tuning, heart tuning, choosing at the fork in the road. Play on words. For as you allow yourself to open to this equestriary, play on words, aquaquestuary, for there are many combinations and words that we can create in order to access these higher born frequencies. For they are being birthed within the very air that you breathe. For you are an external force of creation, so to speak, bringing and birthing into form. For much has been and is being birthed in these frequencies, in this network, and unearthed, so to speak. I was referencing at this point a birthing canal, moving through this birth. I am seeing this as being cleansed somehow. As we allow ourselves to reunify with all that is, that we have been in the past, that we are currently, currency, current of energy, currently running with, currently running towards again, blending the rules, if you will, blending the tides of time, blending the rainbow frequencies that you are accessing at this time. Yet time is merely an access point, if you will, into these deeper realms, into these realms of compassion, that these compassionate waves are melting even the coldest of hearts. For it is not the directive of those, how great thou art, rhyming creates a higher rhythm. These access points, remember, I'm going to come back and break this down a little bit. These higher access points are converging. As they converge, they cross streams, if you will. They cross streams of frequency patterning together and creating a new rhythm that was inaccessible when they were separate. I was seeing a reference to a crosshash, creating a buildup, and the buildup of energies and frequencies essentially combining the information, crosshairs. Before, the streams were kept separate, and this was for good reasons. For the birthing streams that were coming in were too high of a chord for many. So these streams were too high, and to connect them would have been detrimental to the birthing of mankind in a certain way. It was never the intention for this energy of non-organic frequencies to continuously be birthed because it was finite and not self-organizing. Eventually, finite comes to an end, and all that truly is comes through. Otherwise, creation would self-destruct rather than be a life source stream. These streams that were crossing were like bandwidths. And you would have one bandwidth of time that holds within it certain codes and information. If you were to mix it with that other frequency, that was the higher codes of information and crossed streams, it would cause a short. It would cause things to leak because it could not be held and integrated, so to speak. Play-Doh, Plato, molding colors, clay, building shapes, smell, senses. And we use this as an analogy. As a child, you played with Play-Doh, and it would take the shapes of your imagination. You would take colors that were available to you, and you would form what you knew as a child. In that form, coming through form, as formation, in formation. Yoking would use what you were capable of forming in, from your imagination. And there were some things that you could not display, or your world would create and others would not understand your work and where it was coming from. Or in this space of understanding, and in this space, there were waves in which the patterning did not reflect what it was that you were accessing. And so the shapes that were expressed in your own way. It would be as if the higher realms and the higher learning and the higher senses were all needing to calibrate, and they could not calibrate in a particular linearization bandwidth that existence was centered in before. I'll come back to this in just a minute, of course. But now the existence has shifted. The existential existence, the awareness of oneself has expanded. And the awareness is not necessarily knowledge. It is knowing from within that then access the knowledge, play on words. Yes, the knowledge and information can trigger certain knowings from deep within the soul, solar plexus region, play on words. Plexus is a place in space, physical being around the sun, gut feeling. This deeper knowing is expanding and jets out in a propulsion stream of archaeometry, play on words. This geometry changes the time suit technology, if you will. The body is in a time loop, and every so often we are new. We were in a time loop that was keeping us stuck in these lower bandwidths, in part because our ski suit technology, play on words, was not necessarily prepared to make way, was not able to create space and go in that direction to make way. It would have scrambled the wiring because to the looping skin loop, Olympic rings, bubbles, triad of compression, I am seeing that we now have enough compression that pushes from the inside out to match the pressure coming from the outside in somehow. This looping technology has created the ability to withstand higher measures of geometries, like when you are a scuba diver and you acclimate to going deeper in the compression chamber, play on words. I'm also seeing this as in reference to the heart, going deeper at the same time, expanding out further. Rather than a push and a pull, it's compression and expansion. Very similar, but different. We're being squeezed once again beyond conformity, beyond that which we would be conforming into, beyond that which we have conformed to in the past. For in this new birthing canal is born, play on words. This canal holds charge. This canal holds a new time structure, if you will, only meant to measure our self-worth, the net value per se, play on words. I'm going to come back and play with that. SE, purse, Percy, PSI. And so what we hold within us is our net value, our net worth. And as we expand, we break the bank, so to speak. This chamber is connecting us to a vast region of deeper self-worth, bringing into our awareness a deeper region of space, regional matrix that has been birthed long ago, yet is now being accessed. For we have changed our channels. That which we have spoke in, like spokes on a wheel, and verbalized about in the past is available and aware. A self-organizing reunion, a flare, if you will, a spark in the dark, solar plexus. Yet there is so much more we are alluding to here. For that which has been illusory or has been alluded to, alluded from, is now fully accessible. The dream works. Coagulation has birthed its own seam, stream, band with awareness, live birth, bandwidth awareness. Yet there is always still a lag time. In time to catch up to this region. Yet again, we are being invited to really stay in a place of inner awareness. For as we continue to birth these bandwidths from within, we are streaming real time. Like we are creating real time, this is instant creation. Those that are responsible for their own assertiveness, play on words, assertive action, the timekeepers, if you will, those that have kept us in real time, not false time, are communicating with these access points in such a high bandwidth. They are helping to balance the chain, if you will, the chain of command, the change of commands. Times they are changing. This creates an assertive documentary, play on words, that tells a story in real time. As it tells a story in real time, the bandwidths that are unifying are allowing for a stabilization in the higher matrix grids, portals, players, beaches, playas. And this allows for multiple players to set their course, play on words. I'm just going to pause for a second. If I'm a little choppy ahead here, it's because I had to separate this into 3 recordings because it was so long. I save a lot in my Google Notes. So we know that this message seems expansive beyond words, for it is accessing so much that can only be expressed with a certain stream of Play-Doh, if you will. For you must play in your own ability to express from a co-creative documentary, for you are telling a story in your own frequency. And your own frequency is blending together with multiple bandwidths to access different frequencies, in which you spill together. I am seeing this whole network of timekeepers that are essentially out of the entrapment of false time. They are really creating. Those that are holding their composure, they, again, play on words, the compository, the composers, they are creating at such a high speed, a rate of velocity that is outcreating, outweighing those that are of the old system. It is so vast and such an exponential rate of speed that they don't even know that they have been out and outed and outcreated. I am seeing bubble and ring after ring of bubbles of the flower of life, so to speak. And that's not exact, but that's essentially what I was saying. Within each of these bubbles holds expression and higher awareness and location. Before, it was so dense, it wasn't able to sustain itself. You would get a ring and it would go back to sleep, so to speak. You would get a ring of creation, then it would move back down because it could not be sustained. For all that has been corrupt, the corruption has corrupted itself, like acid or rust. It eats away at the foundation or core, and the foundation eats away at itself and does not have anything to jump onto, so to speak, to feed onto. It has corrupted itself. It is corrosive. It is a reflection terminology, terminal velocity, terminal as in it can't sustain itself. Warp speed is warp speed. War speed is warped. So something was going on about this subject, light speed, sound, it ate itself. It has run out of time. The time system in which it was created in, the darker aspect has outrun itself, run itself into the ground. I am seeing this as a reference to underground wiring. This terminal velocity cannot recompose itself. Its composure has run out, so to speak. It is out of time. Time does not exist in the same way that it used to. Therefore, we cannot conform to the same rules that were created on a particular linear, I'm hearing fragmency, frequency, or bandwidth. This will create some animosity, so to speak. this animal velocity from within, survival mode, because there are those that are also out of time. Their chemical components are eating away at themselves, so to speak. And this causes them to self-distrust. That's a play on words, self-destruct. And in this process of self-destruction, there will be a flurry of retribution, consequences for the actions, consequential sequence of events that are going to weigh out the pros and the cons. Play on words. And this essentially will create a dissolution of the veil, a dissolution of the fabric of that which was created for this particular reality construct that is in the process of fading away, like the band, dying orchestra on the Titanic. This construct, or deconstruct, creates a mass decay. I am seeing not like a mass extinction, but the decay brings up fossil fuels, so to speak. False fuels, false fuel technology, false ill fuels. And this deeper technology that has been hidden from our particular reality, if you will reveal itself to be vast and infinite. It is a reptilian type of consciousness that is not able to exist within this bandwidth. There's also play on words I'll come to later. I'm seeing that this creation on and the beings that are neutral, love, did not want to see this mass extinction, which is, by the way, multidimensional, not just about a species. They did not want to see anyone being hurt. I'll come back to that. This goes back to the bandwidth. Earlier, that was not allowed to cross streams, as it was going to cause wires to fry, an overload, overstimulus of information and energy, electricity that would fry the mainframe. There was a delicate balance that needed to be created. There were beings given the opportunity to bow out, so to speak. And this is necessary because they cannot withstand the energy that we are in the process of harnessing, harvesting, and creating. They can't harvest the energy anymore because it is too much. So this is a double meaning, triple meaning, actually. We refer back to the essence of the elements, the elemental vocabulary that it is creating within it, a whole new space-time collaboration. We create within this reality a landscape of technology, and this holds within it many possibilities. We end on this note, play on words. I'm seeing the note having to do with value system, monetary notes, and vibration, musical notes. Musical notes and money notes are a value currency. And the value currently that was once activated within this portal, within this range of chemistry sets, a region of creative matrix placement. The value system is archaic and it cannot hold with the new revelations, relegations, elevations, and revealing. The revealing are going to elevate, so play on words, a certain way of living, a certain reality system, a certain tribunal will be taking place, not in the way we think it is. And we must save face, play on words. There will be people that want to save face, and they will want to create a new face to be behind, to smile behind. Yet this will have to be the truth of who they are. We end on this note, the chords that you pluck, the chords that you choose to play, music, rhythm, scale, and vibration, at the core of your reality activity, real activity, so to speak, that which you relate to one another, relay back and forth, are creating in instant real time. So recognize this, the more you return to innocence, no time bender reality, the more you return to home base. And that which was created in these false grid patterns cannot affect you, period. So I'm gonna pause just for a moment. And so that's the reading. I will do the next video will be a breakdown of the writing a little bit, and this will be part 1. I actually wrote this on January 3rd, and I'm not sure if it was this year or last year. And I've been called to pull up a lot of the writings that I've done and reorganize them because they are happening now. Some of them have already happened, but also to go back and explain some of the things that have already happened from my perspective. Essentially, what I've been shown that I'm doing is I'm connecting to a language, a lost linguistical play on words that helps us through rhyming it's actually connected to a technology. Now, we think of technology as being inorganic, but it actually is. I'm being called to play with this a little bit, so I'll share with you guys. And so if I share with you the technology word etymology of the word technology, it comes from two Greek words translated techne and logos. Techne means art, skill, craft, or the way, manner, or means by which a thing is gained. Logos means word, the utterance by which inward thought is expressed. I love that because that means essentially technology comes from the word word. So I'm connecting to a technology of how the words are expressed, and it's my own skill, craft, or manner by which this thing is gained. So I'm bringing it in, I'm connecting into it, and I'm repatterning it with essentially speaking it in a different way, format. But also it talks about to weave and to fabricate. Oh, I love that. Technology. Whew. System, treatment, art, craft, or technique. It comes from craft or to weave. So we think technology is not organic, but it's actually just means that we're weaving, creating. So we are technology. Not all technology is inorganic. I'll share a little. So that was the biggest thing I wanted to share is I'm actually sharing a form of technology. It's a form of weaving and interacting with a multidimensional fabric of realities and constructs that go back to before time, because we live in a place of time that's a time-based frequency from one perspective, but we are infinite beings beyond time. So we exist beyond time, yet through our gravitational frequency exchange with our environment, we are creating time from one perspective, or through our compression and our spin, our rate of velocity. I don't even know if that's the right word, but I'm just saying what's coming through. Our rate of velocity essentially creates a time-space container in which we're contained within, in which we are given the opportunity to experience reality in this way. So that's what the play is that I'm doing with the words. And so I hope you found it fun. I'll do a little bit of a breakdown, and then I'll continue in the next video with this wording. So I'm just going to share screen briefly. So it talks about in these new energies, we must play, we must reconstruct our reality. We must reconstruct our reality into a new chemistry. So in essence, we are reconstructing it. It needs to be a new chemical exchange, and we have to be lighthearted and play with it. For if we're just following what somebody else is telling us and their directive, then they're the ones that are constructing it, and we're just following as the worker bees. We have to find our own inner chemistry and alchemy that aligns with our highest frequency. So this has to do with heart coherence. For as we align with our higher frequency, we allow that which is to be or not to be. Bees. So I'm seeing us, we're worker bees. We work with this, it's not a hive mind, it's a vibration and frequency in which we work together, yet we also are individually completing an aspect of us. So when I go here, which is to be or not to be, we allow that which is. We allow it to be. We open to it. It is what it is. We also allow that which is to be. So we create it's in the future. And to be or not to be, right? The whole question, to be or not to be, that is the question. And we become part of nature. We nurture the nature. We allow ourselves to see, I think that was a play on words, see temp into this higher framework. So C equals temp. So I'm looking at the temperature, right? The alchemy into the framework. We allow ourselves to flow into a path of freedom that was inaccessible to many before this existence. So before this moment, this stance that we're taking in this realm, that's also a play on words. I'll have to maybe come back to that. Where we're at now may have been inaccessible before this particular existence, because we're taking a stance and now we're creating from a different field. There's a mass quantum upgrade that is still in the process of redirecting itself. And this has to do with the tuning to this higher frequency, harp tuning. I also saw that as a harpooning, and I saw that as whales and all kinds of other flow in there. But essentially heart tuning. We're choosing at the fork in the road. So when I wrote this, we were at a fork in the road. We're making a choice at that fork based on what we're tuning into, based on what our frequency is. Then we choose where we go from that moment. For as you allow yourself to open to this equestriary, play on words, I'm going to pause for just a moment. Okay, this is a play on words. So aqua quest airy. So it's all a play on words. So it's like we're riding on this path and we think of horseback, right? It also has something to do with aqualine. It has to do with equestrian. It has something to do with horses. I'm not really sure. And that's okay. But it's a quest. So we're opening to the quest, the answers, the vision quest. The aqua, the water, the air, the aether, the field that's all around us. It's an estuary. We think of an estuary, it's where things grow. It's actually a birthing, a place where things are birthed. It's where things are a safe space. For there are many combinations and words that we can create in order to access these higher born frequencies, for they are being birthed within the very air that you breathe. So everything is living and breathing. The air that we breathe is also alive. The dirt, right, that we plant things in is living. So things are being birthed from within the very air that we breathe, and we are birthing them. For you are an external force of creation. So we are in form, we are a force of creation. So we're creating it, and we were birthed of creation, right? Bringing and birthing into form. For much has been and is being birthed in these frequencies, in this network, and unearthed, so to speak. So I was being shown a lot of things being pulled up and then pushed out, pulled up, pushed out. As we allow ourselves to reunify with all that is, that we have been in the past, that we are currently, currency, current of energy, currently running with, currently running towards again. So let me just pause for just a moment. I just did a video and I was showing bubbles and how we're inside of a bubble. I can't remember what video that is. We'll say it was done on the 16th or 17th of October, 2022. The previous video, I drew a bubble and we're dissolving that bubble, but we're encapsulated within a bigger bubble. So essentially, we're reunifying with everything that we were in the past. We're remembering aspects of ourselves. We're coming back into unification and wholeness. And that we are currents of energy. So we're reunifying with that, but we're also becoming one with our own current, our own frequency. And we are currently running with the program and what we're running towards. So we're blending and merging the past, the present, and the future through currency, which is electricity, and value, the golden means, right? Or golden mean. I always say means, but so we're blending the rules, if you will, blending the tides of time, blending the rainbow frequencies that you are accessing at this time. blending the rainbow, frequencies that you are accessing at this time. So each of us holds colors and patterns and frequencies. And, you know, when we were younger, we might have been harnessing the red ray or the blues, and now we're harnessing the purple, and we're merging all of this with the prism of the light that we are reflecting and that we are projecting. Yet time is merely an access point, if you will, into these deeper realms of compassion, that these compassionate waves are melting even the coldest of hearts. For it is not the directive of those, how great thou art. Rhyming creates a higher rhythm. So let me just break that down. That was kind of, I'll have to rewrite that. But essentially, time is an access point. So when we get to live moment to moment and we have time, we get to experience reality in a completely different way than if everything was happening all at once. It gives us the ability to kind of slow down and reconnect and see things from a different pattern or different perspective. And we get the opportunity to like be in a relationship and love that person and feel a different realm of compassion through the experience of time. And that's the choice that we made by coming to this reality and creating this reality together. And what's happening is we're accessing these, and our compassionate waves are melting even those that had a cold heart. Not all of them, but many people are starting to open to these waves that are coming in and feel more compassion for themselves and for each other. And I put forward is not the directive of those. Basically, this wasn't what we wanted to direct, right? I'll come back to that. These higher access points are converging. So higher access points are different points in time, past, present, future. They're converging. They cross streams, if you will. They cross streams of frequency, patterning together and creating a new rhythm that was inaccessible when they were separate. So if you picture a rainbow, but none of the colors touch, then each of those rainbows, bandwidths, holds a color, a sound, a frequency, and a vibration. It's not until they merge together as one that they become the rainbow. Otherwise, they're individual colors of separation. That creates a new rhythm. When you put them all together, they create a new pattern, a new sound. It's a merge, it's a symphony rather than an individual sound. This was inaccessible when they were separate. I'm seeing things built on top of each other, creating a buildup. This buildup of energies and frequencies essentially combines the information. Crosshairs, play on words, reference to Avatar, 3 hairs, and a strange loop. So when in Avatar, they would put their hairs and connect them in with the tree. And they would then, or I'm sorry, not the tree. Well, maybe the trees also, but the dragons that they were riding. So essentially, they were using that connection point to weave together, right? Their own technology, weaving with the animals, with the plants. So we're streaming all of this energy. Also, I want to point out strange loop, strange hairs. That too. So this is an example of a strange loop, right? It's no end and no beginning. This is also like the figure 8, right? But it's got hard edges. I like these pictures. They're just a good example of strange loops. Reality is a strange loop. And so recognizing that's the 3 hairs that we see in a lot of our history books. 3 rabbits connecting their ears. They're in a strange loop. So we're combining the information and we're weaving together these realities and as light workers and humans. Before, the streams were kept separate, and this was for good reasons. For the birthing streams that were coming in were too high of a chord for many. Play on words. It wasn't an agreement. People hadn't made an accord or an agreement yet to go that high. Also, it was so high that it wouldn't have been birth. It would have caused, it wouldn't have worked. So these streams were too high, and to connect them would have been detrimental to the birthing of mankind in a certain way. So we as mankind agreed from one perspective, even though some maybe don't feel that, it's that we're not going to go into that, to experience life in a certain way and to birth a reality or create our reality in a certain way. And so by bringing in these streams, and don't cross the streams, right? It would have been too much information overload, couldn't handle it, whatever it might be, fry out the system, which I'll talk about in a moment. And I also wrote in this, it was never the intention for this energy of non-organic frequencies to continuously be birthed. Meaning it was never actually intended that they would continue. So it's actually in divine timing that everything is happening the way that it is happening. We've got some people saying, well, this is stepped in and that stepped in. Bottom line is what I was shown is that non-organic frequencies can't be birthed continuously because they are finite. They're not self-organizing. They are coming from non-organic frequencies. Therefore, they're not infinite, even though infinite beings are creating them. There's a point from my perspective that those non-organic frequencies wouldn't continue to be birthed. It was finite. Basically, we would run out and say, okay, we're over that. They're not self-organizing. They're not organized. Eventually, finite comes to an end, and all that truly is comes through. So what isn't organized, so it's like entropy to neg entropy. Ultimately, if things aren't organized, they fall apart. So the truth, or the sound behind the sound, or the spirit that moves through all things, for example, comes through. What does all of this come out of? What is it birthed out of, right? This fluid womb frequency is what is behind all things from one perspective. Otherwise, creation would self-destruct rather than be a life source stream. And there were some beings that wanted that, most certainly, but not all beings. 1 second. Okay. So these streams were crossing like bandwidths, and you would have one bandwidth of time that holds within it certain codes of information, according to what I was shown. So in these streams, they would hold frequency, they would hold information, codes and information. If you were to mix it with the other frequency that was higher codes of information and cross streams, it would cause a short. It would cause things to leak because it could not be integrated and held, so to speak. So it's almost like, it's like, nope, this is too much, does not compute, sensory overload, everything shuts down. I'm going to go into the Play-Doh and the yoking in my next video. And so I'm going to end on that note, on that piece of information, and go a little deeper with some of the wordplay and talk a little bit about, and we'll maybe I'll show some of the things I drew in my previous video, and we can play with that in the future. So thank you so much for tuning in and sharing in this now moment with myself again, and just sharing in this wordplay that I have to kind of bring to the table. And so until the next time, namaste, in love and light. See you soon.